Hey everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 Fan, and I have a very special guest with me today and the corner. And this special guest, I've been, kept labeling it as someone mysterious, and now the mystery can be unveiled. Would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Well, of course. Hi, my name is Mark Stoddard.
And I must say, it's quite a pleasure to have you in the corner today, and I was curious a little bit going over all of your credits, how you found yourself in the voice acting world.
Well, that's really kind of funny. It really just kind of fell into it. I started out years ago, back in high school, working, doing theater, doing the school plays, that sort of thing, and then I finally got into semi-pro work here locally in the Dallas area, and I was at a point about 6 years ago where I really was just kind of sitting back, and things had kind of gone into a lull as far as my business goes. I'd been doing some voiceover work, but it was mostly just the occasional commercial, that sort of thing. And then I got an email in my inbox one day from I belong to several Yahoo groups or that send out audition notices, and I think this was actually one that pertained to local theater, and I don't know how it got on there. The group has since gone away to be replaced by something else. But anyway, it said that this company Funimation was doing auditions, and if you call this number, you can set up an appointment. So, I went ahead and got myself together and called the number, and of course I got presented with a phone message saying, "Hi, leave your name after the number." And I guess there must have been something in the professionalism, the tone of my voice or whatever, that must have impressed them, and they called me back. And we set up an audition and ran over to their studios which were almost a Fort Worth at this back in that day, and auditioned for them. And it took about 6 months of auditioning. At that point, my agent had not been involved, although as soon as I had the audition, I went ahead and called her up and said, "Oh, by the way, I went and auditioned for this organization." And they kind of replied, "Oh, that's cool. We send people over there all the time." At which point I go, "Excuse me, you haven't sent me over yet?" But be that as it may, once we finally got past the first audition, I just said, "You guys need to talk to me. Just go ahead and call my agent." So for the next 6 months, about once a month, I'd get a call from them to ask me to go out and audition. And okay, fine. So I go out and I audition, and I forget what I was reading at that time, but there seemed to be a certain sameness to it. And they kept going in for the same characters. It seemed like, and at some point, after about after about the fourth or fifth try, I was like, "Guys, am I ever going to be hired?" Or because at this point it was just, as I say, an audition. I wasn't booking anything. And they said, don't worry, we're working on something." And eventually they went ahead and cast me, and my first role out of the box with them was as Inspector McGuire on Case Closed. And, well, the rest is history, I guess, as they say. It turned out to be, my first role with them, and it turns out to be a recurring character in a show. That we wound up recording over approximately 70 episodes and 4 or 5 feature films. And at that point, they started using me for other things. But that's essentially how I fell into that aspect of it. Up until then, I'd been doing everything else in town, theater, the occasional movie that would come through, television series that would work, that would come to town. but really nothing, nothing major. But what was great about this happening when it did is that I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, getting tired of theater. TV was, there really wasn't anything going on TV or movie-wise. And television commercials, I don't know, I guess I was just getting to be too old for what they were looking for. I wasn't exactly, in the younger demographic and that a lot of people want. And it just sort of happened. And
So would you say that anime is sort of your big break?
Well, it would seem to be. I mean, as far as the volume of work goes, that would definitely be it. I mean, as far as any other thing, any other disciplines in the acting field, this has been the only one that has really that I've really done what I would consider, exceedingly, extremely well at. Beyond live theater, I'd been working with a theater, with one particular theater in town since the early 1980s, and doing 2 or 3 shows a year with them. But as far as a break, as you call it, I guess you could say anime was probably the big one for me as things have turned out. Of course, one never knows what'll happen in the future. I mean, I could always get a call, get a call to do a movie that turns into the next big franchise. But that's kind of a fantasy at this point. But I'm perfectly happy with the anime.
Well, it might happen one day. And you did mention franchises and also Case Closed, and I have to wonder, that's an ongoing series, I know, in Japan. Are you guys still being called in to do that?
Well, the only thing we've got, to my knowledge, and the only thing we've got rights to at this point are some of the feature films. I've kind of lost count, and I think we've done 5 of them, perhaps 6. I can't recall, and I know that there are a lot more than that. But as far as anything else in the pipeline, I really don't know whether there's anything else going on that at this point. It's just kind of it was. I don't want to talk out of school, and I don't want it, but it's really. It's a great show, and it's wonderful, but it's kind of a tough sell as far as American audiences go. I think you probably know that this originally ran on Adult Swim for a while, and in their anime block, and it was, I don't know, I guess Japanese kids audience, the children's audience in Japan is used to seeing a few more adult themes than what the equivalent age group here in the United States is allowed to see. And so it for some it's for the older crowd, they kind of look in and go, this is nothing but nothing but little kids. And then for the little kids that it's marketed to in Japan, they can't see it. It's too intense for them as far as some of the things that are shown on camera.
Right. I can see where you're coming from, because I kind of like the fact you can miss a few episodes of Case Closed when it was on TV, and then you can go back to it and you can be like, oh, okay, I didn't miss much. And I like it's episodic, and I think that's something that kids are more used to, almost like back in the day with, Sailor Moon was very episodic. And I don't think, people getting murdered is very prone to make parents happy here in America.
Well, let's see. There's the smoking and drinking. There are the crime scenes with the obvious blood spatter being shown. So the younger kids that it's marketed to in Japan, the equivalent age here in the United States, their parents are not, I don't want my kids seeing that. But but you are right. It's and I completely zoned out on that on this aspect of it that you alluded to, that each episode in Case Closed is a standalone episode, with the exception of the two the occasional 2-parters that they do. It's not the typical anime series where it runs for 12 episodes or a full 24 or 26 episodes, and it's a complete story arc that goes from A to B. It goes to, that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. All of the episodes on Case Closed are pretty much wrapped up within a 22-minute episode.
Which you have to admit is, for whoever works on it, that's quite a feat that you can end your story in pretty much 20 minutes. But they keep going on with like the big main story, the big questions. Those go on for 500 episodes until you find out about those.
Yeah, how many episodes has that show got? We had at least 500. The last time I looked at it, it was 400 and counting. I don't even know if they even still talk about the Men in Black anymore. I know I get kind of when you're working in anime, I know you've probably heard this umpteen different times. You're pretty much limited as to what the actor sees, because you're just limited to what you're just exposed to what you're doing at the time. So there may be some things going on in the background of that you miss out on just because you're not in that scene. And so if there is some long, I know on that particular show, it was the original, the shadowy group, the Men in Black or whatever, the Man in Black, that turned Conan into a child. The medicine, the drug that he was given, that turned him into a child. That shadowy group of people. It seemed in the batch of episodes that I worked on, there was the tantalizing little glimpse in whatever scene that I was in that still alluded to that. But toward the end, and certainly in any of the features that we worked on, the standalone feature films, I never saw any of that. It just sort of like it went away, and all they were doing was just dealing with whatever case Conan was working on at the time.
Right, I understand that, but at the same time, you also can't watch 400, 500 episodes. Nobody really has that time, especially with all your schedule changes and all the additions and whatnot you have to go to.
Yeah.
So I would think it'd be pretty impossible for you personally to catch up, but at the same time, you probably had great directors who, helped you along the way to figure out what your character was doing.
Well, now that's where you hit on something very important, the director of the episode, or the director of the episodes, depending on, what's happening at the time. He's got that unifying vision in his head, and he knows what's happening in the entire episode or the entire series. And most of the time when I work, they'll give you a little backstory. They'll give you a little bit of what, they'll kind of tell you where your character is going. But you really don't get down in the weeds as far as finding out all the details. And you really kind of depend on the director to give you the context or what you're doing. And he has to be able to do that in as brief and as concise a manner as possible, because otherwise, you only have X number of hours in the session. So yeah, the director is is obviously the most important person in that regard, because he's and I've said this many times, is look, you know where this thing is going, so I trust you. My instincts are to take this line or this scene maybe in a different, maybe to take it in a different direction, but I have to hold that down, because I trust that you know something that I don't, and you're going to tell me which way you want me to go for the best, for the sake of the entire episode or the show.
And I think that's really interesting. You also, depending on the project, you get to hear, the original Japanese, and not necessarily base it off of that, but, find a little bit more about the character with the emotion they bring, correct?
That's a two-edged sword. I really enjoy listening to the original Japanese, and I do find myself finding clues, particularly in the beginning when I'm trying to get when they hand me a new character, and I'm looking for things to do to make him different from the 20 other characters that I've done in the past. that may seem like the same kind of person. I always look to the original Japanese voice actor to give me some guidance, to give me something that I can kind of pick up, not, copy. That's, you could, the copy or imitate, something to give you something to, something that gives you a place to start.
And to make it your own,
to develop your character, right? And then you make it your own. But you don't know how many times I find out that as far as the acting style and we're not trying to imitate the Japanese acting style. The characters in the original J, they make the original Japanese, they make a conscious effort a lot of times to not do the same thing that they're doing. In other words, if the original Japanese character's read was real over the top, real emotional, real big, for lack of a better word, if I try to bring that into the English version that I'm doing, 9 times out of 10 I'm told to bring it back, to bring it down, to make it a little bit more subtle. So on the one hand, yes, you look to the original Japanese actor and what he's doing to try and get some little pull some small aspect or some little vocal trick or whatever that he's doing to bring into the character that you can kind of incorporate in what you're into what you're doing. But we're definitely not trying to match what the original actor is doing.
And I understand that, and I think that's interesting that you gave it 2 different ways instead of, yeah, I depend on it or yeah, I don't. It's nice that you found that medium.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's a 2-edged sword. It's valuable to me, but at the same time, I don't want to depend on it too much because then, we're not trying to copy. We're not trying to copy what they're doing. We are trying to be true. Get the essence, but again, it's a case of, Japanese what Japanese audience will react to is a little bit different than what an American audience will react to.
Exactly. And over here in 918 The Fan world, we're going to take a very short break, but when we come back, we'll talk about your upcoming projects and all that fun stuff. So keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
All you have to do is answer the phone.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Is this 918 The Fan?
No, this is Patrick.
Are you sure this isn't 918 The Fan?
No, this is Patrick.
Look, I'm pretty sure this is 918 The Fan.
No! This is Patrick!
Patrick, that's the name of the restaurant.
Huh?
Hey everybody, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. I'm still here with my special guest. We had a fun time talking behind the scenes where you can't hear. But, so you can hear, we wanted to talk about your upcoming projects. I believe recently you were in Dragon Ball Z Kai, yes?
Yes, I was. Played, oh my gosh, you caught me unawares. I can't remember the name of the character. It was a professor
Dr.
of
Brees,
some kind.
I think.
That's who that is. It's weird. After a while, you do so many characters, you just kind of forget. You just do, you do the character, you go away, and you just move on to the next project. But I've got that. Did him, and another show I'm working on is called Hero Tales, and I think that's the one that I've got a really cool character name. I know Chris Bevins, the director, thinks it's the greatest name in anime. Hannibal Quasar.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and no, what's the, oh my gosh. Oh, no, I'm getting it mixed up. That wasn't Hero Tales. That was Blacksmith, Sacred Blacksmith.
Oh, I see. I think I know about that one. But I will say when it comes to the the forgetting your characters. And in a way, I can understand that because at this point, I think I've interviewed so many people. I can't remember who I've interviewed now and again. I'm sure that must sound offensive if any of them are listening.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's the explanation I use when I can't remember someone's name. I'm sorry. What? I meet so many people. Please excuse me. But yeah, I've got that, and unfortunately, I've got one really neat project that I'm going to be working on here in the next day or so. But I can't say anything about it because I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So.
Yes, we are very familiar with those.
Yes, we'll just have to let's just say that it's that when it comes out, everybody will go, "Oh, that's right, them." The software company that's working on it. It's a video game, but I think I've probably already said too much already, so we'll just zip our lips on that one.
Understandable. We don't want you to get in trouble, but we can keep track of this on your IMDb, correct?
Yes. Actually, what's interesting about that is that I seeded that page, put the first couple of little notations on it several years ago, and the fan base has been wonderful about going ahead and updating it. So really, I don't do that much anymore, except just to add the occasional project, or just kind of correct, fine-tune the information that someone has put on there. But as far as the best list of things that I've got out there, we've got the listing on IMDb, and I've also got a page at the Enemy News Network.
Very cool. And you mentioned the fans, and I'm curious, do you ever get to go out and meet the fans ever? Do you go convention hop at all?
Not yet. I've had one. I had spent a day at a local library last year working, for one of their little it was like a day-long anime festival. But as far as any of the big cons, no, haven't been to any of those yet. If anybody's listening that would like to invite me, I am definitely open to doing it. So all they have to do is just get in touch with me through either through Funimation or my agent.
Yeah, I've heard quite a bit, throughout all these interviews that you really have to market yourself to the conventions and be like, "Hey, I'm here. I would love to go."
That's the feeling I get. Only thing is, though, is that I'm really bad at marketing myself. So, maybe that's something I need to work on. But it sounds like fun. I know plenty of people that have done it, and they have a great time.
Yeah, besides the crazy ones. I'm looking at some of you listeners. I will say, however, that we are nearing the end of our time together. I'm curious, though, before we let you go, if you'd be willing to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
What is that?
We ask everybody who comes on, whether they're a voice actor or not, if they'd be willing to do a radio bump for us.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
We do this live on air for any bloopers, and so I'm just warning you beforehand because a lot of people freak out.
So I don't get a second take on this. I mean, whatever comes out of my mouth the first time, that's it, right?
You can try again if you feel the take wasn't that great.
Oh, great. Okay.
But
what do I need to say?
Basically, we asked you if you'd be willing to say, "My name is, I do this, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan," and you fill in the blanks.
Oh my gosh.
Do you need to find a pen and paper?
You're dealing with somebody that's I'm probably starting to forget things due to all.
It's okay. I've had plenty of people write it down before. You're not the first.
98.1 The Fan.
91.8.
Oh, whoa. 91.8. Well, I'm dyslexic with numbers. So that doesn't surprise me in the least that I should do that. So I just basically announce myself, name, something I did,
like
or something
you're
I'm doing.
a voice actor, or if you want to be, I'm this character from this show. And
oh,
then,
okay.
You're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
Gosh, I'm just going to go ahead and do voice actor. I've got so much in it. I don't want to, I don't want to limit myself. Okay.
Not
so
at all,
let's see.
so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mark Stoddard, and I'm a voice actor, and you are listening to 91.8 The Fan.
See, that was perfect.
Okay.
And you didn't even have to do a double take. I think that was amazing.
Well, hopefully I didn't sound too announcery, but anyway, that just sort of like the default came out.
Not at all. And I'm curious, is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
Buy more anime. No, I thank I thank everyone that watches, the fans. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I do. And I've got to thank them for the funnest job that I've had in my life. And I hope that I can continue providing entertainment for them.
Well, I must say it was an absolute pleasure to talk with you and have you on the show, and I'm sure our listeners loved it as well.
Well, I hope so. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, and hope everything. Hope your fans. Boy, my brain just went on paper lock.
It happens to me all the time.
Tell me. But thank you very much for the time. It was a great pleasure.
And for everybody out there, if you've missed any of this interview, it'll be up in the site within the next 2 days, so keep it tuned to your favorite station and your favorite anime website, 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want, nothing